Fans, welcome to another live edition, a very special edition of the Great North Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and we have a man on the show today who has been on the Great North Wrestling Podcast before and was met to such positive fan response that we thought we'd have him back and discuss his new book and take your questions. And I would be talking about the one and only the legend known as Mr. Technical, Barry HOROWITZ. Barry, welcome once again to the GNW podcast.
Wow. Thank you so much for that introduction, Jack. As usual, perfection on your part. And I'm just ecstatic to be here live on a Sunday. Wrestling fans, especially the Canadian fans, which I adore, and they adore me. And I'll never forget all the towns I've been in Canada.
Well, we're gonna get into some of that as well. But what I was really pleased to see personally when the publicity hit was the release of your book. I have the overlay up here now entitled "Wrestling Is My Gimmick." There you go. My life on the wrong side of the three count. I know that and I think we discussed this last time. You have an incredible story, but what was it that came together right now for you to decide to put your story in the business out there now?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Jack, and to all the wrestling fans. This has been a goal of mine 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And just things were interrupting, things were coming first, pecking order, if you will. And I just had to knock off certain things until I could put my full focus on it. And I did. And I got in touch with a great author. I'm sorry. I'm looking at something here. I always get his name. He's got two first names. I'm sorry. It's Jason Norman, the author. And of course, MacArthur Publishing Company. And I'm hoping I'm getting all this right. I'm sorry about that. I don't normally do that. I just got home from the beach 2 hours ago, believe it or not. 87 degrees here in Florida. So tremendous. I was exercising out there, running around, doing things, and then also ready for this interview. But getting back to Jason Norman, I met him at a meet and greet in Virginia Beach, which actually my second time was there just last week, and phenomenal turnout with a card trading show. And he introduced me to himself. He told me his credentials. Also, McFarlane, the publishing company, I knew their credentials. We worked on this literally for a year or better. Interview after texts, after emails. And finally got it. And I always wanted to put a book out, and a lot of wrestlers and wrestling fans, hey, what are you going to do a book? It's right up there with the one, hey, you should be in the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to put myself over. I'm just saying how I'm telling the truth. Mm-hmm. You know? Mm-hmm. But anyway, we did this book, and so far so good. It's only been on Amazon for maybe, that's the only way you can get it, or contact McFarlane, and on the social media, and of course pre-sales. And then I think about 2 Thursdays ago it was for sale. Then 3 weeks ago was pre-sale. Mm-hmm. So there's some good pictures in there. There's stuff from my childhood, how I got into wrestling, who trained me, when I wrestled at high school, different things of my family nature, just a plethora of things that are in there. It's mostly, it is the book of me, and I am talking about other wrestlers. I thanked at least 65 that were unbelievably a part of my journey as far as pushing me forward. I mean, I got through the door through an entrepreneur, the great Lenny Greenberg, and that was the first move. The second was Malenko. The third was training. The fourth was me just going up the ladder and getting in touch with people like Jim Crockett, Vince Sr., Rufus R. Jones, Jimmy Valiant, Sonny Fargo, and Jim Crockett again, the whole Crockett family. And I just kept on going. So I just thought positive and strive for that long range goal.
So you've already touched on some of the aspects of your career that really would translate into a good book, and that's the fact that you had a career in the territories before coming to the World Wrestling Federation, where a lot of fans know your work from. So you literally have a unique perspective that the folks nowadays don't have. How did you, when you're starting the process of looking at, my God, I've got this very long career, how did you narrow it down to however many pages it was? Like, did you prioritize aspects, or what was that process like for you?
Well, basically, that's a two-part question. It was a 200-page book, softback. And of course, Jason, he started from the end, like of my career and with Skip and whatnot. And then he went to my childhood, how I got into it, where I wrestled in high school and college. So he mixed it up, but put in a different order. And if you look at the book, right here, it's pretty interesting. I've seen other people do this. And by the way, the forward is by my son, Joshua HOROWITZ. And he wrote an unbelievable forward. See the table of contents. So if you want to go to just skip different things like, okay, maybe I didn't want to read the beginning of his story. I want to see his college career or time to train or near death a few times or tackling the Florida title. You see, you could skip to that and it makes it more interesting. And of course, the back, you could go to any page. You could go into the back of it, Jack, and let's just say you want to talk about Buddy Rose or The Rock or Royal Rumble or Joey Morella. See what I mean? It's got, I may mention these gentlemen once or twice. They put them on every page. So it may be a blurb, it may be a paragraph, it may be 2 sentences. They were important and instrumental in my career. They've helped me. And I have no problem mentioning these people. Again, the book is about me, but there's a surrounding, it takes a village to build, an empire, so to speak. Not one person.
In terms of the phenomenon of wrestling books, starting with Mick Foley's work in the 90s there and moving forward, we've seen a lot of wrestling books from various perspectives. As we talked about off air, you had some that were kayfabe, some were a mix of both. What is it about? I mean, aside from the fact that you have such a unique and accomplished career, what is it about your book that's going to jump out to the fans?
Well, I think it's more of a story told, a shoot story told. Okay, it's not all about me getting this, getting that, easy way this, easy way that, just putting myself over and using names to get myself over even more. This is basically this book, even if it wasn't to the fans, if it was to myself or if it was to my wife or son or friends, it'd be the same way. That's just how it is. It's not about just showbiz and pro wrestling and stuff. Everything I mentioned is a shoot. There's no fabrication. There's no exaggerating. Now, there may be some quotes in here. If you do look at the book, and I just realized this myself, it says the book is by Barry David Horowitz with Jason Norman. The forward by Joshua HOROWITZ. Okay, so with Jason Norman means he adds some flavor to the stew. He knows maybe Fatu. He knows Jimmy Snuka. He may add something to it. It doesn't mean I said it. Okay, when I quote or say something, like when I say I rode up and down the roads for 2 years with Rufus R. Jones and Handsome Jimmy Valiant and Sonny Fargo, I did. I saved money. I listened to their stories. I listened what to do, how to save money, different things about tuning up and fine-tuning my character, my goal, my wrestling structure. unbelievable amount of talent. I was supposed to really go to Portland, Oregon via Jimmy Snuka. Vince Sr. lined that up and it was full. So I went to Crockett, which I think was a better move. Huge territory. If you know North and South Carolina and then up to Fredericksburg, Virginia, I mean, and then we would go to gosh, I'm trying to think. Oh, I'm sorry. We would go to Canada once a month. So that's when went to Maple Leaf Gardens and met Leo Burke and Jack Tunney and Sweet Daddy Sika and a lot of Canadian wrestlers. So it was it's me talking that. So that's when I say that, that's what I'm talking about. When I go into different sources, I'm not out to bury nobody. I'm not out to stooge anybody off. Not that I'm afraid or scared. And in this part of my career and life, it isn't about that. It's maturity. Mm-hmm. It's being a professional athlete. And that's how I treat it. I don't overdo it, but I don't underdo it. I keep it right in the middle. Don't want to fall off that tightrope.
Absolutely. Have you received any feedback from some of your contemporaries in the business? And the reason I ask that is because, again, you have a career that was certainly unique. You're regarded as, you know, one of, and we're going to talk about some of the other guys, at least in the WWF anyway, that were the top of the top in terms of quote unquote enhancement guys. So you've got a big time name, and you're well known, at least in the WWF, for that aspect of your career. Have you received any feedback from those in the business about your work so far?
No, not really. And I don't know what that's about. I don't want to speculate, but I mean, I did hear some good comments from Johnny Swinger and Lenny Lane. Not too many others, but now, granted, the book has been on the market again 2 or 3 weeks, pre-sale a month. Now, according to my Facebook and my agent, Richie Sorrentino, excuse me, the king of credit, by the way. we also are business partners in GTG.com, Good Times Guaranteed, live wrestling auction every Wednesday. According to him, he manages my Facebook and some of my bookings. He says I'm getting nothing but praise from the fans. Granted, now, the other way you get these books are you come to the meet and greet and you purchase one for me. Or, and I've seen this happen, Jack, I've seen a guy in, let's just say Regina, Canada. He buys a book yesterday. He doesn't know when I'm coming there. He don't want it signed through the mail because he's a fan and he wants perfection and he's a historian. Well, 2 years later, I'm booked in Regina at a meet and greet. I'm just hypothetically. Barry, I waited for you. Would you please sign this? I'm going to sign it in front of him and we're going to take a picture together, the book, himself, and me on his phone. Awesome. I know it's going to happen because I've been there, done that with other things. It may take time. It may not take time.
It's funny you mentioned Johnny Swinger. I interviewed him the past few months, and he had very, of course, your match in TNA Impact came up, and he had very positive things to say about you. Are you at this stage of your career? And this is one of the questions that the fans sent me that I'll ask right at this juncture, and that is, are you retired from in-ring competition per se, or is there a last match or a last great run in there?
I don't think so. No, Jack, I don't think so. I think this is it. I had a good TV match with Johnny. I wasn't moving as good. My shape was, I'm in shape and whatnot, but I'm the type of person, I want you to see me when I was 32 years old, 31, tearing the house down with Owen Hart and Brett and Sam Houston and Lenny Lane and Tim Horner and Brad Armstrong and Wildfire Tommy Rich, all these great baby faces, Tom Zink, Rock and Roll Express. But I also saw other veterans that are even older than me walking and talking in the ring, and they're getting paydays and whatnot. Well, I didn't want that, but you could take it or leave it. So I was told by a promoter, he says, I know you're in good shape. You look good. As long as you pat yourself on the back, come in there, do something of that nature. Or maybe I catch a foot. Maybe I throw a punch, a forearm, an uppercut. But the days of the match of a year and a half ago with Johnny and 2 years ago with Joey Janela for WrestlePro New Jersey, which went 30 friggin' minutes. I have never been in a hardcore match in my life. I've been in semi ones, little tiny one with Sandman here and there, but not to that nature. And the only thing that saved me in that match is that I did watch other matches. And also, it comes with the territory, almost same trailer, different park. So I thought it was pretty good. It's on YouTube. I mean, that was a long, long day. I mean, long day. Started at 3:30 in the morning and ended by the time I got to my room and showered. I think it was midnight, Jack. I don't know how I did that. I really don't. And I was pretty cut up and beat up too from that match.
That's what some of the fans are speculating about because of the Janela match and then the Swinger match. They're thinking, God, this guy's got a run left in him. At least I'm hearing that anyway.
I think if it wasn't for certain injuries, like I've had neck and tricep injuries, I had a knee injury and that's mending. But right now I got sciatic issues, which is from tremendous bumping, and a little bit of hip. And you don't want it to go for the worst. And I mean, I could understand if I was making a tremendous amount of money. I don't even know then, because my father always told me your health is your wealth. It's much more important than money. You want to feel good. So the end of my journey is almost coming to an end. This is the last, not the last, but next to the last notch is the book. I would like to do an audio book. And for somehow, I would love to be a coach in the back to one of these billion-dollar companies. When I mean coach, they call them executives or VPs or this. I call it coaching. And all it is I'm in the back, I'm not trying to take anybody's spot. I'm trying to just add more flavor to the product. Take me or leave me, And let's see, I'll never say never in this business. It may happen, it may not. But I'll tell you what, again, not putting myself over. I'm not angry. You're missing the boat by not using me in the back for some kind of idea.
Yeah.
Here's a great example. I didn't mean to cut you off. Here's a great example. I just read this. This is allegedly, but this is what I read. Allegedly, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the dragon part was invented by Howard Finkel.
I think I've heard that before. Yes.
See what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Out of all these veterans in the back locker room, and he's been through them all, from Bruno Sammartino to Hulk Hogan to Andre the Giant to John Cena. He comes up with it, and they like it. See what I'm getting at? That's all I'm saying.
I don't think you get an argument that quote unquote wrestling people, who experience success like yourself are in very short supply and need to be in those positions of the ability to pass on that knowledge that you have, which is very extensive. Gonna ask a question here from Ebzan, who is a very well-researched individual. He's asking, who gave you the Jewish music as your WWF theme music? It got over with the fans.
The music, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. I'm not exactly sure. It's in the war room, so to speak, with all the head honchos there, including Vince, or I'm not sure who thought of that music. I never asked. Certain things you don't ask, you go with it and just do your job the best you can do. And I can tell you on an separate occasion, the Jewish Star was put on my trunks, but there was numerous ones. There was one on my hip, one on this hip, and it's almost too much. Okay. There's certain things like if you went out like you're in the movie Batman and you're the Joker with all the question marks all over you, that's okay. Ha ha and gaga. But the cross and the Star of David, it's not a punchline. It's a nationality. One is sufficient. You don't want overkill. And who pointed that out? He was right there in the room with me and the seamstresses for WWF. And he says, take those stars off and put one on his left hip. That was his call. He could have been part of the music. I don't know. I don't know who really was that idea with all that.
Well,
I was never in those meetings, by the way.
Yeah, certainly memorable stuff. Matt is asking your thoughts on working with other enhancement guys like Jerry Allen, Scott Casey, the late great Canadian Iron Mike Sharp, late Lenny Poffo, and Brady Boone. And before you answer that, what's your thoughts on the term or the whole number of terms that are applied? You know, do you find the term jobber disrespectful? Then we've got carpenter, enhancement. What's your thoughts on that nomenclature?
You know, carpenter enhancement comes from a respectful person like a Jack Briscoe or Jay Youngblood or Mark Youngblood. But when you just use, you know, hey, this is a job guy, it's almost like you're a piece of crap. I don't agree with that wrestling jargon. It's something for the fans to know and they think they're in on our secret. I have more respect when they say enhancement. Who is anybody to say you're this and you're that? Because there is some guys that are put in there for enhancement. Okay, they may not look good. Maybe their gear isn't good. You could tell their work isn't that good. I think these days are passé, but that's what they want. They have a regular job at who knows, at Amazon or Walgreens or Walmart or the mall, and they just want to be seen on TV, show their friends they got beat by a superstar, you know, Monday morning at the lunch meeting or the water cooler and whatnot. I didn't sign up for that. This is my long range goal. This is what I went to school for, wrestling school, college. This is why I paid my dues and climbed up the ladder to achieve these goals. I mean, not everybody agrees with me. Some guys are just a big guy and they get smartened up and they're natural guys. They've never been through the training I have been through. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know everybody's training, but I know I trained 18 months, 3 days a week, 40 degrees in the winter, which is cold in Florida, and 104 in the summer in a air-conditioned, free, no air conditioner. Maybe you could wash your hands and go to the bathroom, mattress factory that was condemned. And I'm in there with the Malenko family, Carl von Stroheim, and Karl Gotch. 3 days a week. This is after a part-time job, after weightlifting, and I'm there for 3 hours. 18 months, never missed a workout.
No joke.
Well, when you get that, and you get the mindset, and you get everything else, you got to check every box. You're training, you're eating right, you're not partying, you're doing this, doing that. I really think it takes you from an average worker to a good worker to a great worker. I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of accountability. I'm a fan of being studious, of punctuality. I'm a fan of all the positive things. It's better to be better and not bitter.
That's a great catchphrase. I see another T-shirt for you with that on it. Brendan's asking, what do you think of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa? They've been doing the pat on the back, and it shows that your legacy is still alive, Barry. So I guess, what do you think of some might call that gimmick infringement or borrowing or tribute or whatever, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, this is only the second time I've heard of it. Somebody else told me, they said they did it once. Now, Jack, are they doing it always in their matches?
I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen it consistently
Well,
online. No.
this is my opinion. To each his own. Copying, what is it? The best thing for flattery?
Imitation is the
Imitation.
purest form of flattery. Yep.
Yeah, great. I mean, believe me, when people see them do it, they're not thinking of them. They're thinking, didn't Barry Horowitz invent that or do it and did it successfully? Okay, so if you want to do that, fine. As far as I'm doing a Russian leg sweep, so is Brad Armstrong, so is Bret Hart. That's a different story. I think if you walked around and did this, it's almost in the same realm. It don't. Especially if you're in the indie group or a smaller group, makes you look kind of like a, I don't know, weak copycat wannabe. Invent your own style. I did. I didn't copy. So if they want to do that, what am I? I don't put over silliness. I mean, it's keeping my legacy going. People, believe me, if I'm seeing, let me just give a good example of, when I don't know, when I see people do the figure four, I think the first people I think of, first and foremost, Flair, of course, Jack Briscoe. I think of that type of thing, or the Jack Briscoe deep arm drag. See what I'm getting at? So that's how I look at it. What else could you say, Jack? But I didn't know all this. I only was told this like a month or two ago, and from not a reliable source, so I thought it was a rib. So I don't know. I've only seen those guys work here and there. I've never watched a full match of theirs. I don't know though. I don't know the guys at all. I know of them. I know of them.
Talented workers for sure, and I would say that that's a tribute. But it's not. It's on the line where you don't want to do it all the time, because you're right. It could be very well gimmick infringement.
And really, I'm surprised one of the agents or somebody in the back doesn't say something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if I see a guy and they just started him, or they're starting to push him even, and he does this in the first house match or a TV, don't do that. Why? Because that's John Cena's. And you're looking like a jabroni. And the people see that. When the people see that, it's almost like wearing the same attire. You're copying The Rock. You're copying this guy. You're copying Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? Not good.
Absolutely. Not good at all.
I don't see in other sports, NBA or NFL or Hollywood, I don't see Tom Cruise or DiCaprio doing stuff like that.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Sean is asking, what's your friendship with Marty Janetti like? A favorite on this channel for sure.
I like Marty a lot. I know him a long time. Love wrestling him. I love wrestling him. He's another favorite babyface. There's no pulling teeth. He's the ultimate dance partner, if you will. And he has his kookiness. He has things that are opposite of me. That I'm not hanging with him or driving with him. I see him at meet and greets, but I like Marty. I'm just hoping he straightens up or nothing happens to him.
Have you caught any of his shoot interviews in the later era with some of the information that he talks about there? Do you think that's just for effect, knowing him well, or what's your thoughts on some of the more outlandish claims?
I don't know. I've only heard bits and pieces, maybe one full story. I don't know. Marty's. I don't know. It could be 50-50. That's really my really answer is I don't know, because he could be shooting or he could be ribbing. I don't know what, I don't know. I really don't.
Fair enough. A fan on social media asked what is a perennial favorite question, and that is, we all know, especially in the internet era, that there can be legit physical altercations backstage. Can you, off the top of your head, think of some of the best? I guess that's a way to describe it, or most memorable backstage or otherwise fights in the business.
Just to touch on, I was there when Rougeau hit Dynamite in the face in Fort Wayne, Indiana TV. I was there. I saw that, just the beginning of it, and it was quick.
Were you not around the corner when that happened and you heard it?
Actually, I was walking, I think, towards catering, and I think Dynamite was on the left. Pat Patterson was in the middle. Davey Boy was on the right. They were talking. I think Dynamite had a coffee in his hand, and out of nowhere, boom! It was just so quick. Now, granted, from the distance, I was probably 100 feet away. To my right, I saw it this way. And that was it. I mean, you see these things, first of all, none of my business. I mean, we're going to catering. What am I going to do? I mean, there's that now, granted, now there's like 30 guys around there, and one of them is Bad News Allen. So he's enough to take care of the crowd. So
nothing from your territory time, like Florida, for example, was kind of reputed to have some rough stuff backstage.
I did. Let me see. Wait a minute. Did I see that? Maybe I didn't. I think it was something. This is allegedly too. Now I was there. Billy Jack Haynes was there. It's a Bayfront Center in Florida, one of my favorite venues. I think he was mouthing off to Billy, and Billy grabbed him by the hair and was punching him in the forehead so hard that Tiger tried to get away and he couldn't. He finally did. I think he pulled a patch out of his hair. Never saw him again because he was fired immediately by Wahoo, the booker. But I think Tiger was a little bit of a shit disturber. I only had one issue with him about putting me over for the Florida title, which is, he's a mark. I don't know what to say. He tried to get stiff with me. I got stiff back. And of course, when I beat him, he jumped right up before I could even pat myself on the back. They edited the film and showed it for a month, buried him. Wahoo did that. And when he got back, I think he got fired again. So he got fired, I think, right there. And maybe didn't get fired with the one with Billy Jack. He may have just been reprimanded or something happened. I don't know. That was a long time ago. The final issues of both of those. I mean, he couldn't get fired twice, so there must have been a warning and then final nail in the coffin, so to speak. I can't think of. I think there was one in Global where Jeff Gaylord jumped Eddie Gilbert. I was on hand, but walking down a hallway like in school, and all of a sudden here comes Jeff, wild man. I didn't know what the hell was happening. I'm walking to a meeting, and there's like 20 guys in the hallway, and I'm to the back. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, some of this stuff, I think that's about it. If anything, there was maybe words or hearsay with other wrestlers. Yeah.
And that's a different phenomenon from, as you said, those that like to get stiff with you in the ring, and then you or they're trying to test you or whatever their motivation is. Did you have many of those type of situations in your career?
Just a few. I would have like guys that work safe, snug. There's no problem with that. That's what you do in Japan. You got reckless a little bit by Stan Hansen. Okay. Like Dr. Death Steve Williams says, wrestling isn't ballet. Otherwise, everybody be a pro wrestler. It's going to be stiff. It's going to hurt. I mean, you don't want to be working like that, which I have seen. When I see that on TV or the internet or YouTube, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the Tokyo Dome or it's some little civic center in Dothan, Alabama, if I see that weak lockup and how they get in the ring and that punch that can't break an egg, I change the channel. Plus, I'm not learning nothing. At this point, I still like to learn. I learn what not to do, and that's a weak-ass punch or a weak-ass kick. Things do happen. Timing's off, or you're rushed with a finish. You're supposed to go 3 minutes on Raw, and in 1 minute, Earl Hebner's telling you to go now. Because if you don't, he's going to get screamed at by Vince. I'm going to get screamed at by Monsoon at the gorilla position. That's why you need to stay in check and do your job. It's not a matter of being scared. Would you do your job if you worked for the FBI? If you worked for Walmart, if you worked for Walgreens? Again, if you were a Marine? I mean, Bill Belichick says it the best. Do your job. There's nothing wrong with that. It's maturity and accountability and stayability. Yeah.
Since you mentioned global, I had a fan send me a question about that. We've all heard about the infamous Pedicino deal with the Prince and the millions of dollars that we're going to fund global and take the promotion to be a national company. When you came on board there, you had great success. You were a title holder and a feature on their television. What was you looked a little puzzled there. Did you have an understanding about the funding behind the company, or were you aware of all this scam actually that ended?
Didn't know about it. Didn't know about it. Heard about it, Jack. And at that point, as long as I'm having good matches, I'm getting there on time, I'm getting the payday, it's none of my business, Jack. They're not scamming me, because believe me, now that I do my meet and greets and I'm my own agent, mine and Richie, yeah, I could filter those out. Because at this age and this point of time, don't work a worker, Jack, at the end of the day. I find it I really have a problem with getting disrespected.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were in global, you're getting paid. What just out of my personal interest, what resulted in you leaving the company? Did the bottom start to fall out there, or what?
I think so. I think that's what was going on. The changing of the bookers, it was getting disarray. And I don't think I said I'm done. I think they were done. Plus, I was working for everybody else too.
What was a fan is asking, what was your favorite tag team match? I know you're known a lot for your singles work, but do you have one of those that you were involved in?
Wow. Yeah, I wasn't really a tag team wrestler. That wasn't my forte. I don't know. I can't even think of I'm just trying to think of off the top of my head.
You did some on WCW television. I believe that was your first run, but nothing. Again, you're primarily, of course, a singles guy. So,
yeah, I can't think off the top of my head who a partner was with me.
Reno Riggins.
Yeah. He was. That would be at least, one of them. We went overseas together and worked a deal with the Bushwhackers. Yeah, because he was a wrestling heel, and I just can't think of anybody else. I know him, and I don't mean to diss anybody, because I've had more singles than tag matches. So yeah, I really can't think off the top of my head, Jack. But yeah, Riggins, yeah, one of them. And I just can't think of anybody else.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Is asking, when you were teaching Hakushi, and this is, of course, a fan favorite, this whole deal that you're involved in here, English on TV for weeks, what was the end of that particular storyline?
Oh, wow.
those vignettes that the fans
Yeah,
still
we
talk
did the
about.
vignettes and we worked our thing for about a year. And you know, it's funny that you say that. Again, this is a disrespect thing in my eyes. I'm not just saying these things. Like when I was done with my run, think about this. It was 97. You could have repackaged me. You could have just kept me there like other people are kept there. Underneath babyface, underneath heel. You could have reinvented me. They do it every day. And then they say, oh, we don't like to repackage. The people know who you are. To an extent, that could fly. But lately, I've been seeing people 5 different gimmicks in 1 year. Still got a job and can't get over, by the way. I don't know if it's their fault. It's the office's fault. I don't know. But I was never given a proper send-off. Like, I think I remember, I don't know even who it was because that's how irrelevant it meant to me. I wasn't on the chalkboard for TV in 2 weeks. So the third time, I think I asked some wannabe agent, whoever it was, maybe I forgot his name. Maybe I don't even want to put his name over. I don't know. I don't remember. But it wasn't a proper like, well, you're not on the board. Well, you know, if I ever did anything wrong to this company, maybe I should have came in late, wrecked rent-a-cars, stayed at the clubs, did all these things. Maybe I would have got promoted. I don't know. And I don't roll that way because I could look at myself at my career. Could it have, I made millions and been better if I followed a dance or a different crowd? Well, I don't play that. I fulfilled my dream at the end of the day. And I think I've did pretty well with no help. When I mean no help, my father wasn't a promoter. My brother wasn't a wrestler. It wasn't handed to me or spoon-fed to me. I've earned everything. And it could be anything. It could be jealousy. It could be, I don't want you to take my spot. You know what I mean? I'm sure you've heard these and you know it. And these aren't made up words or me bitching. This is legitimate. No, actually, this is legitimate bitching. I don't whine. Okay. If you want to give me a test for like showing up and passing drug tests, this, and that, well, tell me what I was doing wrong and you can correct it because I know a ton of wrestlers that can't do a promo or can't do this and you pushed them anyway. Some of them got over, some of them didn't.
And some were just unsafe. And speaking of which, a fan on social media wanted me to ask you about just to summarize some of the issues that you had with the Ultimate Warrior in the ring and your thoughts on and this is kind of a reimagining on the company of Jim Hellwig. At first it was the self-destruction, the Ultimate Warrior, and then when he came back into the fold, they had the Warrior Award and his image, for lack of a better word, seems to have been rehabilitated and not to, delve too much into the politics there because what makes money obviously is going to be pushed by the company. But what are your thoughts of this kind of historical reimagining of the Warrior? And if you could just let the fans know that may not be aware, though a lot of them are, about your issues working him.
Well, first of all, I think this guy came from the gym and he was a bodybuilder and he used wrestling for a stepping stone, which he wasn't good at. He wasn't trained properly. Maybe the look got over because it was in late 80s. Okay. If you tried that gimmick today, there's 100 guys in the business right now. No, there's 50 guys in the business right now that look just as good as him, if not better. Batista in his prime, better promos, better entrance, and better wrestler. Not run to the ring, shake the ropes, clothesline, and blow up. Music stops, so does his match. Am I knocking him? No, I'm not knocking him. He's disrespectful to me. And I don't like that. When I first met him and I wrestled him at the Kiel Auditorium in St. Louis, Dingo Warrior, nice guy. He was this, he was that. He was talking about, I don't know, I think he had an ex-wife. I don't really remember the gist of the conversation, but he was nice. But as they built him up, too much too soon will ruin you. If I had my way, everybody would break in Tokyo, Japan, and get beat for a year and learn not only about how to step through the ropes and grab a headlock, but moves and submissions and psychology. And don't conduct yourself as a pro in the hotels and diners and the airport. A lot goes a lot way. And I know there's other people in other genres that do this. I don't know as many as wrestlers, but I don't know that for a fact. Okay, I'm sure there's some NBA players or NFL players, but getting back to Warrior, yes, yeah, just kind of bitter. Once again, not better. He was bitter. He didn't embrace the wrestling business. You know, respect your people. I heard him go a rant on Hulk Hogan. Let me tell you something. Hulk Hogan has got more shower time than he's got lifetime. And I'm just calling it like it is. How dare you? Who are you? How dare you do that? Go off on these almost crazy, hate to say retarded ways of these shoot interviews. They're absurd. And nobody stepped up because probably people are on contract. They're scared. Somebody big is a mark for him and wants to push him. You interview some people today, you'll see a different story. And I've seen it already. I used to like him. As far as his stiffness and what, he never hurt me. I know how to counter. I know how to walk around this. This is what I do. But you do get hurt, but not to the point where I'm missing the next night. You know, I've been hit by bigger and better, and I've been stretched, and I've been this, and I've been that. So, you know, it comes with the territory. It's almost good for you.
Do you think that the company,
there's a difference?
Do you think that the company reimagining, you know, this legacy from a guy that was, you know, pretty divisive to say the least, in the locker room, to this sort of mythological, always believe the Warrior Award deal? What are your thoughts on that specifically? Having known the
Warrior Award, changing your last name, changing your family's last name. Okay, listen, I'm going to sum this up, and I believe. Okay, don't believe in your gimmick, number one. Do it properly. I get to the arena, not the airports. I'm Mr. Technical Barry Horowitz. I'm an arrogant heel. I'm a wrestling heel. Outside, especially in today's genre, when they know it's sports entertainment, don't work the fans. You got 10% that really think of 1980. The rest are millennials. They know what's going on. They're laughing at you, trying to defend it. Okay? It's like Stallone getting on there and saying, I'm throwing real punches at Apollo Creed. Well, I would laugh. Mm-hmm. That's mm-hmm. just a tiny example of that. So, yeah, I don't, what I'm trying to say is I'm Mr. Technical when it's done. I'm Barry Horowitz at home with my wife and son, my family, my plethora of cats. But I'm not. That's I'll give you a good example. I saw something. I'm give you a good example of something. So I watched this show Yellowstone. With Kevin Costner, and I love it. In fact, the opening night is tonight. So. Right. We don't want to miss that or the opening to the Beverly Hills Housewives either. Not in Barry's world, anyway. So anyway, what was I saying? So you've got that. I had 4 stories going at the same time, so I got a little twisted there. So anyway, I'm seeing this part in Yellowstone where there's one of the characters is named Casey. They're after this person. He's got a drone, and the brother of his wife is going to shoot it down. And he slams the rifle down. He says, "You could have killed." Oh, I was aiming for the tires. And I'm looking at this guy. And 9 out of 10, when I see people that look like somebody, It is that somebody. And I'm looking at him and I go, okay. Well, now I'm watching another show last night on demand. It's a new show with one of my favorite country music stars, Reba McEntire, and it's called Happy's Place. Great sitcom, great comedy. Okay. So I'm seeing this guy in the background. He's got the same thing, the same voice. I go, that's him. Now I'm going to look it up and check out his real name. But my point is, in that show, Happy's Place, he's just a dirt-to-dirt, funny guy, just a simple, I'm a nice guy. How are you? But in Yellowstone, oh, he'll want to shoot your ass in a heartbeat. He's a Native American, and he's protecting his land. That's a sign of a good actor.
Mm.
And you know De Niro could do it. Tom Cruise could do it. DiCaprio could do it. Tom Hanks could do it. They will fool you. It's amazing. That is a friggin' art. It's right up there with throwing a punch to the face, and you're at ringside, and you go, on a scale of 1 to 10, that was a 9. By a 9 hurting him when it really was a 2.5. That's because I'm an artist.
Absolutely.
See my point?
Absolutely. Matt is asking about a guy who's made some headlines recently about a retirement match, perhaps one last run for Goldberg. And I know you had a pretty high-profile match on WCW television with him. Matt wants to know what it was like wrestling him, who some have said is akin to wrestling. I believe it was Brett who said you might as well wrestle a real gorilla.
I only wrestled him twice. The second match was because they couldn't find his opponent. That's a long story, but I think he was hiding. He didn't want to put him over. He was scared. He was afraid of taking the spear. He didn't want to do the job. Again, do it. It's disrespectful. So, of course, Mr. Reliable's there. But again, I'm getting paid to be at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium in Tennessee and on TV. No problem. Otherwise, I've only wrestled him once. Yes, of course it was fast. It was much easier in the Warrior and safer, and he was more respectful. I think on 2 counts. Maybe that was just Bill. Maybe because Bill's Jewish and I'm Jewish. Who knows? But I'm not searching for an answer there. He's respectful. Had no problem.
And you never got hurt?
No. He gave a good spear. And he gave a good jackhammer.
Fair enough. It was an interesting match for sure. Very entertaining. Lewis is asking, has your opinion changed on Action Bronson since it was a mainstream reference when I guess he has a song with your name attached to it. I haven't heard it, but full confession, but seems to have garnered some ink anyway.
Yeah, bad ink. I won't even go into the story. Once again, I don't put over trash. Okay. I'm not into copycats that are using me. I mean, believe me, if that was, let's just say John Cena or Hulk Hogan or Batista under contract, you tried that back in the day with Vince, he would own you overnight with his lawyers. Yeah. That's a fact. It would happen quick. I wasn't under contract, and it was disrespectful, and it was jabroni-ish, and the people who contacted me, they were the same. I don't want to go into the whole story. Maybe some other time I will go into it graphically. I'd rather talk about other things than wasting my time putting him over. Let's put it this way. I think if you took a toll right this minute, who's more relevant, who looks better, and who is not old, but older, Barry Horowitz is going to win, hands down.
That says it all. And here's a question from Sean. He's saying you're my favorite enhancement wrestler other than Steve Lombardi. And this question comes up all the time. And I think it's a valid one. And hopefully, the organization with new management there might take another look at it. But Why, in your opinion, does WWE not induct talent enhancement wrestlers like yourself?
Great question. I've answered it numerous times. I love answering this one. Think about what I'm about to say. You have your Hall of Fame. It's great. You could attack this subject in a couple of manners. You could have it on TV, you could have it off TV. And this is how it would go down. You could have the enhancement either before or last. I would make it before, in respect. You got your main eventers, you got your Jake the Snake, you got your Hulk Hogan and whatnot. Okay. But you need the cream of the crop of these guys. And I think I should be included, and maybe 4 others. So that's 5. Make it even 6. We're each given 10 or 15 minutes for a promo, off camera or on camera, or maybe a smidgen of both. You do everything else. I've seen stuff on TV from various companies that do not make sense. Do not make sense. They put money and time. 3 weeks later, they fired the guy. Well, what are you doing? There is numerous ones that the WWF has did, WWE, whatever you want to call it, that have did. Some made sense. Some were repackaged. But you can't even go one time, just one time, 1 year, see if it gets over. Let me tell you something. I've had people at my meet and greet tables that say, I wanted your autograph. I want to see you. I know you're on second or third match, but I like your wrestling ability better than so-and-so at semi-main event. Because they're historians. 20, 30 years ago, they're just stone cold carnival marks. That's not a compliment, by the way. So they're more smart now. And I respect that because they respect me and I respect them. You always got your 1% of jabroni. And the word says it itself, jabroni, a.k.a. Mark.
Yeah, and I think it's gaining the discussion around enhancement talent in the Hall of Fame is gaining some steam because you know, not just the older demographic of the classic wrestling fans such as myself that really appreciated the work that you guys did to get those other talents over, build interest. I think the product as a whole, starting I guess in the Monday Night Wars, has suffered from moving away from that model because they're not making stars. You can name on maybe 1 or 2 hands the legit bona fide stars that there are, and that's where you guys came in, and in so doing created a lot of interest and memories. Do you agree with that?
Totally agree with you, Jack. Here's the deal. Here's the deal at the end of the day, Jack, and the bottom line. Not everybody could be the lead singer of the rock group. It's not going to happen. You're Bon Jovi, you're Paul McCartney, okay? It just doesn't work that way. It'd be boring. Going to a restaurant that has 3 items on the menu, you got to have variety, okay? And you just there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. Look in any kind of your movies with action heroes. Not everybody could be Batman or Superman. See what I mean? There has to be fall guys. It's the way you fall. For instance, when my match is done, this is what I want the fans to think, and they should anyway. You know that match with Bret Hart or Owen or one of his brothers, or like I said, one of the Armstrongs, or with Kurt Angle. Holy crap. HOROWITZ lost, but he almost won. And he was doing these moves that were, he's a pro. He's not kicking and punching. I'm seeing Northern Light suplexes, double underhook suplexes, 3/4 grapevine. He's bringing them down, up and down, duck under, go behind, ride them, go for it. Wrestling. That is, you know, if I see this when I watch Mike Tyson fight or Muhammad Ali or Elvis Presley sing, I'm looking at true artists, not just going da 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 and just going da da da. It's artistry at its finest. That's how I look at it. So you have to have people like me. And if you have weak people like me, you will not put asses in the seat when you're trying to push The Rock to the top or Bret Hart or anybody superstar. It won't work. He could be the greatest worker, Ric Flair. I don't sell that figure 4. I don't do things. I'm not going to see, you see what I mean? But if you have a guy that could work and could really be in that slot with him, and it goes back and forth, which I see a lot. I do see it on AEW, the back and forth, certain things. That's one of my pluses for that show. It's competitive. You're there to compete. If you look like crap, you dress like crap, and you wrestle like crap, well, you shouldn't be there. You need to be training still, or quit, or better your craft.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
Couldn't agree with you more, and I don't think the business is as good without. I think that formula wasn't broken, and probably we'd have more stars and interest today if it was left intact. Barry, we have time for. Sorry, go ahead.
You rarely hear of a superstar putting over somebody of my nature or something like that. But Barry Horowitz's career could have went either way. It could have went like that, or they could have pushed me into a slot. But think about it. Well, this guy does what we say. He's a good guy. You got to have somebody like me. You have to. And not me. You got to have a good amount. If you got 10 superstars, you got to have 10 guys that are enhancement that could fill the slot with him or just enhance the match. That's the name of that name, is enhancement, to enhance the match. A secret that some veterans don't know, and I say this almost on every interview, Jack, get the match over. That doesn't mean get it over and take a shower and get to Tim Hortons or something, or Subway, or you're going to listen to Shania Twain or watch somebody play great hockey in Canada. No, it's not that. It means when I get in that ring with Owen Hart, I'm getting him over. I'm getting Barry Horowitz over. I'm getting David and Earl Hebner over as the referees with authority. And I'm getting everybody from ringside to the nosebleed cheap seats and the Montreal Forum over. I want them with it. That makes a good match and a great match. Which one do I want? I want a great match.
Yeah, unfortunately, more like you mentioned, more fans are wise to the workings of the business and just what a contribution enhancement talent made to some of the best years in the business. We have time for one last fan question, and I know we talked about Brett, and you mentioned him a couple of times in our other interviews, but Ibzan is asking, how was Owen Hart with you, and the funniest rib you were aware that he did to others?
You know, the ribs are all done while you're in the ring, so you don't know who's doing them unless you witness them. You don't want to tell on somebody. You don't want to put the rib over, because unless somebody's like really trying to beat you up in the locker room or something, that's not a rib, by the way. That's bullying. I didn't put ribs over. I remember Dynamite complimented me on that too. He says that's why him and Davey Boy liked me so much. I didn't go and stooge on him or tell on him. They do these little ribs. I don't really care. I don't have time for that. I'm trying to remember my match and get to the gym and get to on the next flight, or get a match under with somebody like Owen or whatnot. But getting back to, you were saying, I'm sorry.
What Owen was like when you work with him, and any of the funniest ribs that he did.
First of all, I never traveled with Owen, but I worked with him thousands of times, and of every one of his gimmicks, by the way, I loved every one of them. The funniest thing I saw, and I was part of it, it was kind of a rib. I was looking for, I think we're towards Portland, maybe. Oh, wait a minute. Seattle, maybe. And I'm looking for Owen to get in touch with Louis Spicoli. Okay. We had business, and I'm looking for him. I don't know what hotel he's at. And I'm pounding on Owen's door. It's not late. It's not early in the morning, but it's not late at night. And he comes to the door, and you could see behind him, it's pitch black. and he's got those things on you go to sleep with that people go to sleep with, either men or women.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a phone in his hand. Back in the day, the push button phones at the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they got the cord,
Mm-hmm.
and he's holding it. And he goes, Barry, I was asleep and I was talking to somebody. But he's talking to somebody. The cord is dangling. It's unplugged, Jack. And I'm looking at him, and I don't know if it's a rib, it was unplugged, or that's the rib. Again, didn't put it over. I said, okay, I understand, Owen. Go back to talking to somebody. And that was it. That's the most I've encountered. I've had Brett tell me at meet and greets, I'm sorry for all the ribs Owen did to you. I said, not that I know of any. I know your brother-in-law, Davey Boy, did. I don't remember Owen. Maybe he did. Maybe other guys did. You don't know, because they never did them in front of you. And I just don't think Owen would. And if he ribbed, his ribs were kind of light, maybe impersonating somebody or hiding something or something of that nature. So
not the Mr. Fuji style that we've heard so much about.
No. I don't think that's ever happened to me. That or Kurt Hennig. And if I did, they were light. They were light. I mean, you're getting ribbed. I don't even know what that was about. Maybe if you were a shit disturber in a locker room and you told on people or this, I don't even know what that, I didn't analyze that. And if you're still doing it today, by the way, you need to grow up. Cool ribs are all right. You know, just something funny. You know, you're sitting at the airport and your suitcase is here. Maybe you move it here, something, but not saying something about your family or I don't know, gluing your boots to the ceiling or something.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now.
Well, that's good advice in life, not to put any of that over. But Barry, can you tell the fans where they can get your book again and all your upcoming events, where the fans can keep up with everything that's Barry Horowitz?
Yeah, well, basically, I'm doing meet and greets and wrestling seminars. So I would go to an indie group, let's just say in Buffalo, New York, and talk to the guys for 3 or 4 hours. I'm squeezing my whole career into that 3 hours. So I touch on little things. I love doing those. Sometimes I'm involved in a finish. Mostly my meet and greets, I'm traveling. Of course, my book, if I got that right, and I'm sure you've got a copy of that too, picture of it. This is sold through Amazon. And I love the title. And I did think of half of this title. The other half was by the book company and the author. But it's really a shoot statement, Jack. Wrestling, it is my gimmick. And it's a play on words. And if a good historian, he'll know what I mean by that. And any wrestler should know what I mean by that. So this is for sale on Amazon. And also at the meet and greet tables, I will sign it personally. I don't want to do it through the mail. Something's going to get lost in the mail. They're not going to believe it's my signature. You're looking an accident waiting to happen, Jack. Mm-hmm. It's not professional anyway. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing that. I'm in the gym anywhere from 4 to 6 times a week. Otherwise, spending time with my family or running errands around, being a dad, being a father, a husband. Wow. Of course, I'm doing really well on Cameo. I've been on there for years with 5-star ratings. You could look at all this. I'm not putting myself over. It's just the truth. I give the fans what they want. And my fans are incredible to me. I mean that. They're very respectful. And I like the way they conduct themselves verbally and physically when I see them at the meet and greets or talk to them on Cameo. Of course, YouTube, ProWrestlingTees.com. Of course, GTG.com with Richie Sorrentino. And sometimes I'm on there myself live. Wow. Of course, Facebook. And of course, you could catch me on my matches from the 80s on YouTube in almost every company except ECW. I don't think they like wrestlers on ECW.
That's a whole other story.
So yeah, that's another story.
So just in terms of your socials, can you give the fans your Facebook address, and are you on X?
Am I on what?
X? Twitter?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I am not involved in any of those. I want to get involved. Richie and I were talking about it. Right now, we're sticking with just Facebook. If you just Facebook Barry Horowitz, there's a couple, but you'll see my picture there. And
Yes.
yeah, and I'll do cameos to the fans, or promoting something, or just talking to them in general. But I think I've named my of course, these podcasts, phone interviews, and just regular interviews. And I just came back from Virginia Beach. I was supposed to be going to Charlotte, North Carolina in about a month, but something, some kind of rescheduling, something happened. I'm not sure on the whole thing on that. A little bit kabuki-ish, if you know what I mean.
Well, the fans should follow you on Facebook and stay up to date with all your events. And best of luck with the book. It's been a pleasure speaking to you again,
Jack. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody that works with you. And you contacted me again. It was a blast. This was really a blast. And I got to reiterate on, I'm so pro Canada, from the food to the gyms to Tim Hortons to, of course, country music and Shania Twain, to the hockey organization, to pro wrestling, and of course, the whole Hart family and dynasty. It's
Absolutely
essential that I say this, because they've been all good to me. So yeah, I appreciate everything, and I hope everybody likes the book. And maybe you give yourself a pat on the back when you're reading it. Maybe it brings you good luck. And yeah, thank you once again. It was, like I said, a blast being here. You're the ultimate professional.
And I appreciate that. Fans, that's it for another live edition of the Great North Wrestling Podcast on thehannibaltv.com. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, and you'll keep up to date with the great content that we have coming on a weekly basis. Thanks once again to Mr. Technical, Barry Horowitz, and go out and grab that book.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates.